Good day, grade 9 students. Let us start a brand new day in learning mathematics. So for today, we will be discussing about the discriminant and nature of roots. What is this discriminant and what is this nature of roots? So how does it differ from the solving of our quadratic equation? By factoring, by extracting the roots, by completing the square, and by using the quadratic formula. So discriminant and nature of roots. So for our objectives, we will be dealing with the following. First, identify the values of A, B, and C of a quadratic equation. After that, find the value of the discriminant. Then, identify the nature of roots using the value of the discriminant. Then, participate actively in the activities. So to start off, let's have first an activity. This is a game. We call this is classification. So we will be having 3 to 5 given words, places. Then we have to identify the classification of these words according to its as given set of words. Let's start. We're given with Philippines, China, India, Saudi Arabia, and Japan. Those classifications are, kindly raise your hands. Yes, these are countries in Asia. Very good. Let's have the next one. Solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. So yes, these are phases of matter. Then we have ABS, CBN, GMA, TB5, and QTB11. Yes, these are TV stations. We have linear, quadratic, radical, exponential, and rational. Very good. That's equations. We have red, blue, yellow. What are these? Yes, these are primary colors. Next, we have Song Joong-ki, Lee Min-ho, Ji Chang-wook, Lee Jong-suk, and Park Hyun-sik. Yes, they are South Korean actors. Then we have Peter, John, James, Andrew, Jude, and Andrew. We have, yes, they are disciples of Jesus. Paris, Rome, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, and Berlin. Very good. They are capital city in Europe. Then we have Carica papaya, Oryza sativa, Zeamys, Mangifera indica, and Malus domestica. Yes, it's scientific names. Very good. Femur, mandible, metacarpals, humerus, and ribs. These are bones in our body, names of the bones or parts of the bones of the body. Very good. Okay. So your scores are already recorded. So there are some classifications. So not just yung mga bones, yung mga pangalan ng tao. So there are different classifications also for our numbers. These classifications of numbers, we call it as the set of your numbers. You have here your rational, irrational numbers, real numbers, and not the real numbers. So we have here some set of numbers. We can classify them as rational, irrational, or not real. So where can you classify your 12? Square root of 13, 2 over 3, square root of negative 4, square root of 5 over 3, 1.23, 3.22, 1.215, square root of negative 2, square root of 25, square root of 20, and negative 5. Okay, kindly put some colors and then identify. You start with rational, then irrational, then not real. I'm going to give you some time to classify these numbers. Okay, time's up. Let's start with the set of your rational numbers. So what are those? Yes, these are 12, 1.23, 2 over 3, square root of 25, and negative 5. And and 3.2222 and 2. Okay, do we have the same classification? Very good, class. Let's proceed with the irrational numbers. What are the irrational numbers on your desk or on your list? We have a square root of 5 over 3, square root of 13, square root of 20, 1.215. Then there's a dot that means it's infinite. Okay? Unlike the one a while ago that is repeating number. Okay? How about the not real? We have the square root of negative 2 and the square root of negative 4. So these are not real because we don't have any square root of a negative number. So they belong to the not real numbers. Those with square root, but it is a negative. Okay. So let's proceed now. How are we going to find the nature of fruits? The nature of fruits will depend on our discriminant. But how are we going to classify? There are 4 classifications. So it's either your nature of fruit is real, rational, and equal. It's rational and unequal, irrational and unequal, and not real. So how are we going to classify these 4? So again, identify the discriminant first. Later, we will be discussing the formula to use for the nature of the discriminant. So again, it's either real, rational, and equal, rational and unequal, irrational and unequal, or not real. Let's start with the discriminant first. The formula that we are going to use is b squared minus 4ac. So that means we have to identify first the values of a, b, and c of our given expression. So if the value of the discriminant is 0, then the nature of root is real, rational, and equal. If the value of the discriminant is positive in a perfect square, then the nature of root is rational and unequal. If the discriminant is positive and not a perfect square, then the nature of root is irrational and unequal. And if the nature of root is negative, then the nature of root is not real. Again, we start, so it depends upon the result of our computation of the discriminant. So later on, we will identify if the result is 0. Again, we're going to identify if the result is 0, if the result is positive and a perfect square, or if the result is positive but not a perfect square, if the result is negative. So we're going to have to match it with its nature. So if the result is 0, so we're going to have the first nature, which is real, rational, and equal. So if the result is positive in a perfect square, that means the nature is rational and unequal. If the result is positive but not a perfect square, that means it is irrational but unequal. Then finally, if the result of the discriminant is negative, that means the nature of root is not real. So let's have the examples. First, you're given with x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. Let's identify first the values of a, b, and c. The value of a is 1, b is negative 4, and c is positive 4. So our formula for discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Substitute the values of your a, b, and c. So you're going to have negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. 4 squared is 16, and then 4 times 1 is 4 times 4 is also 16. 16 minus 16, the result is 0. So since the result is 0, therefore the nature of root is real, rational, and equal. So let's take a look if the roots really of x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0 is real, rational, and equal. Take note, it must be real, it must be rational, and it must be equal. So if we're going to have this So x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. By factoring, the roots are x minus 2 squared. So the value is x minus 2 equals 0. So two values are 2. So we're going to notice 2 is real. This is also rational. And they are equal. They are both 2. So again, if the result is 0 on our discriminant after substitution, the nature of root is real, rational, and equal. And let's have the second example. X squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. The value of A is 1, the value of B is 5, and the value of C is 6. By substitution, B squared minus 4AC, you have 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6. So 25 minus 24, the value of your discriminant is 1. So this is not 0, but this is a positive number, which is also a perfect square. So since it's positive and it is a perfect square, this one, yung 1 natin, 1 is positive and it is a perfect square. Perfect square. Therefore, our nature of root is rational and unequal. So if it's positive and a perfect square. So let's see kung rational nga ba and unequal yung magiging roots ni x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So we have x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0 by factoring. The factors are x plus 2 times x plus 3. So that means the value of x is negative 2 and negative 3. Both negative 2 and negative 3 are rational numbers, but they are not equal. Unlike a while ago that it is both 2. So again, we were able to see a while ago that if the result is 0, the nature of root is real, rational, and equal. For our second example, we were able to see that if the discriminant is positive and it is a perfect square, therefore, the nature of root is rational and unequal. So let's have the next example. 2x squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0. The value of A is 2, the value of B is negative 6, and the value of C is negative 5. Again, using the formula, so we're going to substitute. By substitution, we're able to have the value of your discriminant, which is equal to 76. Again, 76 here is a positive number. It is not 0. It is a positive number, but it is not a perfect square. 76 is not a perfect square. So we have the third one. So since a positive and a third, not a perfect square, therefore the nature of root is irrational and unequal. So we have the third one. So again, from our first example, we were able to compute for a value of 0. Since it's 0, the nature of root is real, rational, and equal. For our second example, we were able to see that the result is 1. And 1 is a positive number and it is a perfect square. Since it's positive and it is a perfect square, the nature of root is rational and unequal. And now, for our third example, we were able to see that the result of the discriminant is positive. 76 is a positive number, but it's not a perfect square. So since it's not a perfect square, therefore the nature of root is irrational and unequal. So let's take a look if the result is really irrational from this example there. So by the quadratic formula, we were able to see that the roots of 2x squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0 is 6 plus and minus square root of 76 over 4. So as we can see, the roots are irrational. And it's not an irrational number since 76 is not a perfect square. So meron na po tayong tatlo. We proceed to the last one. So we have 4x squared minus 7x plus 11 equals 0. The value of A is 4. The value of B is negative 7. The value of C is 11. So by substitution from our quadratic, from our discriminant, we will be able to see we have negative 7 squared minus 4 times 11. 7 squared is 49. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 11 is 176. Subtracting those, we will be having negative 127. So let's take a look at the result. The result, negative 127. It's not 0. It's not a positive number. So therefore, negative 127 is a negative number. So if it's negative, therefore the nature of root is not real. Therefore, the roots of 4x squared minus 7x plus 11 is not real, since the result is negative. Okay. So let's have the recap from the 4. Again, if the result of this discriminant by using this formula is 0, the nature is real, rational, and equal. Again, real, rational, and equal. But if the result is positive number and it has a square root, it is a perfect square. Therefore, it is rational and unequal. But if it is positive number, but it's not a perfect square, therefore it's irrational and not equal. Then finally, if your result is negative, just like this one, therefore it is not real. Do you have any question? Okay, very good. So let's proceed now first with a group work. Not a group work, but an individual. Kindly try first this one on your seats or on your at home. I'm going to give you at least 10 minutes to answer this. Identify, compute for the discriminant, and identify the nature of the roots. Then, you will be showing me your answers later on. We will going to check. Then after checking this group work or this individual work as a activity, kindly take this evaluation through your Google form, and then you are going to send that to your Google Classroom. So kindly put all the correct answers, and you can only answer once. So for the thought of the day, we have different classification, but in the eyes of God, we are all the same. That's all. Thank you and God bless.